So strap in and get ready.
The leaders in AFL SuperCoach are incoming, helping you win your leagues and climb up the rankings.
You're now listening to the Insight AFL Show with your hosts, Big Horse and Skitty.
Good morning and welcome to the Insight AFL Show. I'm your host, The Horse, and after getting some data yesterday, Deadly and I are like, how can we get this out to the community? They're probably hard at work, hump day. Let's break shit up and give them some SuperCoach knowledge to help them with their trades this week, Deadly.
100%, mate. Who doesn't love a special episode? And you saying good morning definitely sounded a bit weird.
Yeah, didn't it? You're not used to being awake in the AM, are you?
No, this is odd for me. I've been arisen early.
So if you look out your window, you'll see what we call the sun. It's actually kind of cool.
Oh, I've never seen that before. Whoa.
I know. Get around it. But today we are dropping a special and it's on DPP. So players that are going to get DPP at your club, in no specific order, we're going to go through the 41, I think there is, players who have been spoken about in the SuperCoach space as to whether they're going to get DPP, whether they're locked in, whether they're on the edge, or whether they've got no chance. We're going to go through them today, and hopefully that provides some clarity for you around your trades this week, next week, and moving into the first round of DPPs at the conclusion of round 5. So it's earlier this year than what it was last year. But before we continue on, like, subscribe, bell. Be a triple banger. We love it here at Insight. We call it being the triple banger. But also, if you listen to us on audio, give us that 5-star review. Gets us out into the algorithm of the SuperCoach world, where you get a little bit of banter along with a little bit of SuperCoach knowledge. Now, Deadly, before we kick off, mate, or do you just want to kick it off straight away? I'll leave the ball in your court, mate.
Nah. Before we kick it off, we'll get into the juicy stuff later. Make them wait.
Make them wait.
Make them wait.
They're at work. They've been waiting for fucking 3 hours for some SuperCoach stuff today, mate.
Well, let's get into it then.
All right, let's do it. But before we do, today's episode is brought to you by our day ones, the Standard Squeeze, who are helping you drink responsibly and conveniently. You can go to the website, thestandardsqueeze.com, and use the promo code IFS2025, IFS2025 to get yourself 15% off everything in store. Let's start it off, mate. A young Fremantle player by the name of Murphy Reid. So during the preseason, quiet, played against Geelong. He kicked 4 goals in a matter of 10 minutes.
Yep.
Outside of that, he did fuck all. He had 55 points in a quarter to get his score to 43. And now all of a sudden, he's just scored a ton last weekend. If you don't have him, are you looking to bring him in? But more importantly, he's at 94% forward. So he will get that forward midfielder eligibility come the end of round 5.
Yeah, so you can lock him in to get forward. Murphy Reid's a bit of a weird one. He wasn't really one of the ones that was going to get a job for Freo in the preseason, and then they played an intra club maybe a week before the season started, and he bossed it. So he earned himself a spot just from that, pretty much, and he's taken it with both hands. The first week was pretty bang average. He scored 55 and a quarter to finish on 50. So, look, it's fantastic if you got him. And I know most people, if you got on him, you got on him last week just because of the whole injury debacle and subs and whatnot. You're sort of forced to bring him in. And congrats to you. It's worked out wonders for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't be looking to bring him in this week. He probably has a low score in him pretty soon. And there is just better options out there for cheaper. He's up to 200k now. So I think the ship sailed, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think so. What's impressive though, 7.3 score involvements per game. So they're clearly loving the fact that he can use the ball quite well and hit up targets inside 50. So even though he might not be getting the power of possessions that other rookies might be getting, the score involvements and the goal assists, that's where he's scoring his points at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. That was one of the big things coming out of the draft with him is how well he is by foot. He was one of the best users by foot in the whole draft class, and it's really shining in the AFL in his first 3 games.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So he's a lock, but let's look at someone else from the Sydney Swans and that's Joel Hamling. So he's played 100% of his time in defence, so it's no surprise that he's eligible for forward defence DPP. But what do you reckon? I don't think so, because you've got McDonald, who's been training as a key back. You've got Melican, who's due back. Like, I feel like this is not just going to affect Hamling. It's probably going to affect Bice as well.
Yeah.
So while we can lock in that he's going to get DPP, his position in the side is somewhat up in the air, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I don't even know if you can lock in that he's going to get DPP. You need to get 3 games at least to get DPP. And I'm not even sure if he gets a third game this week, depending on the players coming back. But yeah, there's just so many people in that Sydney backline. And I do think Bice is preferred over him. I think he's probably the main one that loses out.
I think he's the first one out.
But yeah, the DPP is cool, but you can't bring him in, and it sucks, really.
No, spot on. Let's move on to Anthony Caminiti. So he's not quite Massimo D'Ambrosio, but he's still of the European heritage. 78% defence so far this year after playing a lot of his footy up forward. I reckon you can lock him in for a forward defence DPP, but the SuperCoach upside's not really there, is it?
Yeah, no, you can 100% lock him in for DPP. I think the move for him going back is fantastic for his career. I think that's probably what he needed. And the 2 games he's played full games back there, he's looked great.
Yeah.
It's good for him. SuperCoach wise, it's not the most friendly role, and he's not the most SuperCoach friendly player. It's cool. DPP, another one. He's just too expensive, and at the same time, he's not really the guy that's going to get your points and all that sort of jazz.
No, 100%. Liking the comments coming through. Keep banging them through, especially if there's a play you'd like to know about DPP. We will address them at the end of the episode if we haven't already. We see CWT in the chat, currently sitting 4th overall in SuperCoach as well. So we're tracking his progress pretty closely. Want to see the man do well. Now, Colby McKerch is our next one. So he will get mid DPP.
Yep.
So I just, there's too many mouths to feed at North Melbourne. Long story short.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the role isn't perfect for him. I can see a world where, potentially if there's a few things shuffled around, Sheezel moving back, potentially, hopefully, to be honest. McKercher sees a few more CBAs, but geez, Jai Simpkins looking too good for them at the minute to not get those CBAs. And once again, DPP is cool, too expensive. The role's not fantastic. I feel like we're going to say that a little bit about a lot of these players, but look, McKerch is still young. I reckon there's definitely a few seasons down the track we have him, and he's a locked for M8 or D6 wherever he's playing, and we'll wait and see for them. But this year, I'm pretty off him.
Yeah, I think so. I think you brought up a really good point too, Deadly, that it's all well and good to have DPP, but you've got to look at the other side of it in that if you're bringing someone in that's getting DPP, they've got to be scoring you points as well. So they're either going to be that stepping stone, cash generator, or a primo. So you need to be bringing them in for the right reasons, much like if you're bringing someone in that just had a forward, mid, or defender, sole position, or ruck. So I wouldn't be bringing in, say, Caminiti for the sake of having DPP when he's not going to be making you any real cash to be going elsewhere. So you've got to be selective at the same time as to who you're targeting. And we will bring up some targets later on in this episode that we believe you should be targeting at home as well.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one, mate. And that's Connor Stone from GWS. So if you held him, you'd be pretty happy because while he hasn't been scoring massively, he has held his spot in the GWS team, which was up for debate, I guess, at the start of the year, but he's done a pretty good job. Now, not a huge scorer, but defender forward, if you've got him, you've got that ability to interchange him with a Riley Bice or the like. Not Riley Bice, sorry. Ben Patton, if you have to. Who are other defender forward DPPs, mate? That
not many right now, but
no, there may be some coming though.
There will be a few.
So
yeah,
I think it's your cash generator, and it will also give you flexibility if you started with him. Is he one that I'd be looking to bring in? No, because I don't think he's going to be making you enough cash at the top end to help you get to a primo. But if you've started with him, you'd be pretty happy.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is if we were to have a guess at some DPPs, you probably, if this guy was going to get consistent games, this is one you probably could have locked in because he was always going to play that sort of third halfback role. Currently sitting at a 4 break even. You 100% hold him against West Coast this weekend.
For sure.
Could even respark his cash gen if he goes, 50 plus at least. And goes into DPP in 2 weeks' time. If you started with him, cool. If you didn't, I wouldn't be bringing him in. Simple as that.
No. At 98% defense, he will be getting his DPP. Someone that is probably going under the radar a little bit because he's been the sub a lot this year is Sid Draper from the Adelaide Crows. Now, the stats say that 48.5% of his time has been spent forward. So he's going to be eligible, as it is right now, for mid-forward DPP. For me, it's not great that he's had that he's had sub-affected games, but at the same time, we can see that he can play. He's got some fucking talent, this kid. Is there a chance that we do look to bring him in if he is or continuing to be the sub and he's getting these 40 scores, he gets DPP, it's still 200K, and then gets a full-time gig where I can see him averaging 70 to 75, and that could be 150K that you could use to step up?
Here's where I sit on this Adelaide situation. I think after this Josh Rochelli injury, his fractured ribs obviously will miss a month.
Yeah.
I can see Draper no longer being the sub. I reckon they'll bring in, I don't know who they'll bring in, to be honest. Maybe off the top of my head, maybe Luke Nankervis, someone back in. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Good shout.
Anyway, but...
They'll take keys, won't they?
But the way I see it, I don't think Sid Draper will be the sub much longer. If he is, it's pretty unfortunate for him, to be honest.
Yeah.
I can see a player who we're going to bring up later on in James Peatling spending a lot more time forward than what he already is. And we know he's spending a fair bit of time forward just to sort of recover Rochelli. And I could see Sid sort of getting his little swing role between wing and forward. And if that's the case, look, a 39 break even this week. I hope he doesn't get over that too much this week and then has 2 big weeks the next 2 weeks. And then we can bring him in at maybe like 175K.
So Sid Draper does have a break even of, what was it?
39.
Yep. So, yeah, there's potential there for sure.
Yeah.
Next one I'm going to bring up, and while it's frustrating for Essendon supporters to see this man spend so much time forward, it could be a nice little loop option.
I don't mind it.
When we're talking the back end of the year and what have you. And that's Big Sam Draper, who cannot kick a drop punt from 10 metres out and has to kick the bananas.
Hey, it's
as frustrating as what it is, 4 set shots for 4 goals.
It's working.
You can't knock a bloke if it works. 56% spent forward so far. So it's very highly likely, 35%, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, that you need to spend in a position other than your predominant position to get DPP. Is there kind of some how you goings here with a ruck forward DPP? If you've got a Luke Jackson or someone like that, an Archer Reid, his ruck forward, someone like that?
There is, but it's sort of comes down to circumstance. If he does get this DPP, which he's pretty well locked into, if, they sort of decide to drop Nick Bryan out, run with Draper for a bit, there's maybe a slight world you can run Draper in the forward line, depending on how long this sort of goes for. There's a lot of circumstance that will go into this if he was to ever be a classic option.
For sure.
If you have him in draft, you scream you're loving life because this is fantastic. You can pick up another ruckman. But classic wise, it all comes down to circumstance. You're probably not going to be really looking at him, to be honest.
No, with a 103 first game against Hawthorn and then a 72 and a 68 the last 2 games, you're probably not looking to go there, are you?
Nah, I probably wouldn't lean there unless everything falls into his favour.
Yeah, for sure. The next one I want to bring up because it's highly unlikely that this man gets DPP, but he's sitting at 25% forward at the moment. I know they've only played 2 games, and you need to play 3 games to qualify for DPP, and that's Touk Miller from the Gold Coast Suns. Do we see this trend continuing, especially with the likes of Sam Flanders, Bailey Humphrey now being a predominant midfielder, and he's in that mix of midfielders that run through there at Gold Coast? Then you've got Noah Anderson, Macrae. Will Graham is another one. Does this man spend enough time forward to potentially get DPP, or do you think he's like a Zack Merrett where it's teetering on the edge, but it's probably not going to get there?
Touk had spent, I think, 5% of his time forward before last week. Now it's up to 25. They've got the DPP as unlikely. Mm-hmm. I think there's a bloody good chance he gets it. Just because of the way he played at half forward last week, he made it look easy. He made football look easy for a bit there. And, to be honest, if they keep the same trend up with Humphrey spending more time in the mids and Flanders back, obviously, ramp his midfield time up a bit, Touk's probably the one that just, spends a lot of his time at half forward, gets his DPP.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested if he gets it for sure, but it's at the same time as how much time is he going to spend forward? Is he just going to be another half forward? He can't kick 3 every week, let's be honest.
No, if he kicks 3 every week, he's going close to winning the Coleman.
Yeah.
But he does add an element of forward craft, I guess, at ground level. So it's another genuine on-baller that they can run as a, not so much a pressure forward, but like another on-baller in the forward line. And then if they are, I guess, against the contest and momentum's going the other way, that 5th or the 6th forward or the high half forward, which is the role that he's been playing, you could play him behind the ball and use him around stoppages as another +1.
Yeah.
So it's very, I'm not going to say it's very likely that he gets DPP, but if he does, I know he's burnt people in the past, but he's an absolute shout after going 127, 128 in his first 2 games.
Yeah, 100%. Look, we'll jump straight to the next one because I think the next one on your list and my list is Bailey Humphrey as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think Touk Miller at 25% chance to get forward is more likely to get DPP than Bailey Humphrey, who's sitting at 33.6 to get mid. That's just the way I see it.
Controversial, but go on.
I think Touk's, they've got it here as he's highly unlikely to get DPP. I reckon he's near on locked in if he plays the exact same role, he's got it.
As last week.
Yeah, he's got it.
Yeah, if he's the same role as the first week against West Coast.
Oh no, he won't get close to it.
Yeah,
no.
But we can only go on your last game. That's right.
Yeah, if he the exact same role as he played against Melbourne,
mm-hmm.
He's got it. So yeah, I mean, I think it's more likely. And so we'll jump into Humphrey. Does he really spend enough time extra in the mid to what he's already spent to get it the extra, 1.5% that he needs to get DPP?
Well, the last 2 games he's gone at 41 and 35% on the dot.
It's gonna be very close.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're getting Bailey Humphrey in this week, fantastic trade in if you want to get him. I don't really think the DPP helps, but you're going to keep him in the forward for most of the season anyway. You've got enough forward mids to swing through if you desperately need. You got your Daniels, your Macrae's going to get forward mid for sure. There's a lot of others. Marriage if you're getting him.
Yeah, for sure.
Humphrey you're getting as a forward. So if he gets the DPP, cool, but you're not too stressed.
No. And I will remind people at home, while he is averaging 107.5 so far this year, which would be good for a top 6 forward, this is not going to last. So if you are bringing him in, I want you to have the mindset that he is a stepping stone into a primo. He's not going to be there at the end of the year unless you've got him on your bench and you're looping him through. But he does have not a bad run coming up. I know he's got Adelaide this week, but then he's got North Melbourne and is it Richmond in his next 2 after that. Mm-hmm. So those matchups are quite favourable for him, and he could make you 100 to 150K quite quickly, depending on how that role moves on and whether he gets the CBAs and what have you from there on is another thing. But if you are bringing him in this week, have the mindset that he's a stepping stone. So then you're not disappointed when he's pumping out 80s instead of the constant 107.5 average that he is at the moment.
That's it.
The next player, mate, I know that you're quite high on, and that's Jace Burgoyne.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
I've spent the past basically day and a half trying to convince myself to not pick Jace Burgoyne at this rate.
Yep.
So started out last year. All right, so with DPP stance, he's 47% to get defender.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very likely.
For sure.
So first round against Collingwood, just basically only played wing, scored 50 SuperCoach.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Richmond game, he spent a fair bit of time back, but was still mainly the winger. Still mainly the winger, just played a bit more defence. Then this round 3 game against Essendon, he was basically exclusively half back, mate. And
yeah, he was.
Boy, he looks good. So Jace Burgoyne, I was looking at this last night, just quickly.
Yeah.
Jace Burgoyne has played 38 games in his career. How many times do you reckon he's gone under 75% disposal efficiency?
How many times?
How many times out of his 38 games?
Has he gone over what? Disposal efficiency?
Under 75% disposal efficiency.
Shit. I'll say 5.
3 games.
3 games. And that's all that he's gone under 75% DE.
Since the start of his career.
Wow.
Last game against Essendon, he went 96 DE with 100% time on ground. That's 2 weeks in a row of him playing 100% time on ground. I prefer this guy to a Max Holmes.
Wow, that's a huge call. But when you're talking disposal efficiency like that, are we now looking at potentially the Dan Houston replacement at Port Adelaide?
I think we are. I think this is now the Dan Houston replacement. He's getting his kick-ins ramped up. He didn't have any in round 2 because he was still predominantly wing with a slight bit of halfback. Got 3 against Essendon. I can only see that going up. I can't see Josh Singh getting 5 kick-ins every week now.
Wow, you heard it here first on the Insight channel, ladies and gentlemen. Burgoyne, nice little smoky if you wanted to look left field. DPP is very highly likely, and at 450k and a break even of 16, 19. Is it this week? 19? This is probably about as cheap as you're ever going to get him. So if you're going to get him, go now. Otherwise, the ship may sail. If you're listening to us on or watching us on on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Helps get us out into the algorithm. If you're not yet, sub up, click that button as well. We'd love that. This will go out on audio as well. Give us that 5-star review. We're trying to bring something to you during your working day to help get you through Hump Day. That is Wednesday, the day after April Fool's Day. Next, mate, someone that I don't think's relevant unless you started with him, and I don't think many people started with him, and that's Harry Sharp.
Yeah.
From the Melbourne Footy Club.
Yeah.
The former line was tipped to play on a wing, and he has been playing wing, but he's been playing a lot forward as well, and 82% in the forward line means he'll get mid-forward DPP. There's better elsewhere.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's played well. He probably keeps his spot for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just not really a super coach option, to be honest.
No,
but, yeah, started with him. You probably can't complain. I actually haven't even looked at him. I don't know what he's scoring and made. Let me have a quick gaze.
I can answer that. Not much.
Keep going. He's made 15k with an 11 break even. If you started with him, you probably got 1 or 2 more weeks out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. Can we move on to the next guy?
Go ahead.
Because this guy excites me a little bit.
Oh.
Sam Davidson from the Western Bulldogs. Jeez, he looked good last week. And I put out a tweet on Twitter. If you're not following us, our handles are down below. He was just unreal out in the wing. And I call him a kid because, yes, he is 23, but it's his first year in the system and had to do the hard yards through the VFL.
Yep.
And he looked like he belonged. 30-odd touches, 129 SuperCoach points. This is Sam Clossy, his first 2 games-esque from last year. And the fact that he's going to get DPP just adds value to him as well.
This is Sam Clossy, Jeremy Sharp combined into one. Mm-hmm. That's how I see Sam Davidson.
Mm-hmm.
He's on an all-time rise, and his cash gen's gorgeous. He'll be 400k in no time.
Yep. Milky, as we now know him as on the Insight Fantasy Network, he's got a massive negative break-even as well. If you don't have him, which, I mean, you're probably outthinking the room if you didn't start with him, I think you can still get him in and expect a reasonable cash improvement out of him as well in order to use him as a stepping stone.
Yeah, 100%. So he's got the 129 in his rolling average for the next 2 weeks. That'll automatically just make his cash gen fantastic.
Sorry,
negative
Chris.
88 break even. They've got him projected at 62.
Negative 88 break even.
Yep.
So that means he's going to make
if he
$1
scores
million.
If he scores his projected 62, you go up 66K.
Wow.
And that's just this week. So,
yeah, okay.
Shit. If you don't have him, get him in, I reckon.
Yeah, I don't think it's too late.
I reckon he's probably the priority to some of these other guys, to be honest. He's going
and just to give you some numbers around Jace Burgoyne as well, I did a little bit of research. 46.3% time he spent in defence, and it's looking better than likely that he will obtain DPP.
100%.
The trap from the pre-season that we called pretty early on, Sam De Koning, the lesser DK, I guess, not TDK, but SDK from the Geelong Footy Club. You can lock this one in at 95% he spent in the ruck. But a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Scott, the coach of the Geelong Footy Club, came out and said that he'd be looking to play a Reece Stanley against Max Gawn. And that's this week, which means where does SDK go? Does he go
back to defence?
Back to defence. And we've seen that role in the past where he's good for a 60 in defence, but
that's about it.
That's about it.
Yeah, he's already at a 95 break even, so he's made 8K and he's going to lose money.
So whatever you've made on him, you're going to lose it this week.
Yeah, and probably more.
Mm-hmm.
Reece Stanley had a phenomenal game in the VFL as well. So, yeah, it looks like he's up and ready to come back for a couple games.
Yeah.
The Sam De Koning ship has well and truly sailed. He's done.
Zack Merrett is an interesting one.
Talk to me.
Probably unlikely that he gets DPP, I think.
Yeah.
Because especially now with the injury to Caldwell on the hamstring, he's going to be spending a lot of time in the midfield. But at 30-odd% in the forward line so far, there was cause for optimism, I guess, with the ability of Merrett to get DPP forward mid. And that would skyrocket him to F1 without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
But injuries we've seen in the last 24 hours, a broken collarbone, was it, to Angus Clark, an ACL to Tom Edwards, and now a hamstring to Jai Caldwell.
Yeah.
While two of those blokes aren't relevant to the midfield depth at Essendon, or the senior midfield depth anyway, Caldwell and his hamstring, and reading this morning, it could be the 3 to 4 weeker.
Yeah,
we're still waiting to hear.
Early reports are 3 to 4 weeks for moderate hamstring strain. It'll be like the exact same as Cole Langford's, if that's the case.
So if we're looking at that, we're going to assume that he's not going to get DPP, and you need to pick him as a mid only.
Yeah, that's looking very likely that'll happen. And it sucks, but so you can sort of expect that he wasn't going to get DPP, to be honest. I mean, it would have been a blessing if he did, but no one was really coming into the season being like, oh, Zack Merrett could get DPP. We thought he might spend a bit more time forward, which he has, but it definitely drops back now with Caldwell getting injured. Need his clearance work back in.
For sure, mate. Let's move on to Will Day from the Hawthorn Footy Club. So this is someone that people were speaking about as to a potential DPP forward mid because he was resting forward. The stats say that it is not going to happen because so far this year he has spent 13% in the forward line deadly.
Yeah, it was sort of to be expected, I guess. I mean, he was going to always have some time forward to rest and whatnot. He's only really gone up there to rest when he's getting tagged.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it. He hasn't really actually fully rested there. He's come off. But, you can lock this one as not happening, to be honest. It's not going to happen. He's not going to get DPP in time. Is at 13%. He's not going to reach 35 in 2 weeks. And I think he's I don't know what his break even is after his pretty decent game last week, but he's not a trade in, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah, he's at 108 with a buy at 483K. So, no.
It's very Essendon-esque for 3 of their players to get injured on a bye round too, isn't it?
Yeah, typical. Doesn't shock me at all, to be honest.
Jack Henderson from the Melbourne Footy Club, though. He's someone that's relevant because 97% of his game has been spent forward of centre, so he will get mid-forward eligibility. And he had his first price increase last week of nearly 50K. negative break even still. At 140 odd K, you could potentially still bring him in.
I would lean there's better options now. If you if you didn't start with him, I think that's a bit silly because cheapest guy in the game, had a spot pretty well locked in from all reports.
Mm-hmm.
He's only what? He was only 20% owned. Jesus,
that's surprising.
That's very surprising. I thought he was near on a lock to start. This is what we expected. The second he got picked up as an SSP, the recruiting manager said, this is the guy we want to replace Alex Neil-Bullen at the high half forward role.
Mm-hmm.
He's done that. He's going to get forward mid. If you got him, happy days.
Yep. That's about all there is to it, mate.
Yep.
Next on the list is someone who 2 or 3 years ago, you'd be like, fuck me, a 600K midfielder that's getting DPP forward mid. Count me in, sign me up, throw away the key. But Patrick Dangerfield at 48% forward, it's looking like he will get forward mid eligibility.
Yeah.
But he's not really doing much for me this year, mate.
No, the days of danger are well and truly past, and it's unfortunate because that's just how old age is. But boy, back in the day, I was having a look. This was like 2 weeks ago. I was just having a look. Who was the best players in the game? Patrick Dangerfield, for a good chunk of time there, was averaging 136.
Yep.
I wasn't playing Supercoach back then. I was bloody 12 years old back then. But my God, bloody good footballer back in the day, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. He's still in 0.5% of teams, so I'm not quite sure what they're thinking. But after scores of 80, 74, and 84, which gives him what is about a 78 average, yeah, there's better elsewhere, mate.
Yeah, 100%.
James Sicily from the Hawthorn Footy Club is next. Huge intrigue there was around Sicily and his time splits between defence and forward. 15% forward he's played, so it's just not happening.
Yeah, no, it's not happening at all. He won't get enough. And, sucks, but same sort of thing. It's just not a guy we can really look at anymore, I don't think. I think the role isn't... the role's okay, but he's not really back to his big scoring ways. I don't think we're looking at Sicily, to be honest.
No, I don't think so. Here's an interesting one. A defender only, and he's spent 55% in the forward line and 44% so far in the midfield. And that's Nick Martin from the Essendon Footy Club. So we're talking about a player who's very much on the radar, hasn't started the year that well, but we know that he's got huge upside for Supercoach. My worry is now, with that injury to Caldwell, does he now move back into the midfield?
Yeah, I think so. The way DPP works, if you're chasing 2 DPPs like he is, he's above the threshold in both. It's whatever's higher at the time. So right now, forward's higher. So if it was to end right now, he'd have forward DPP. I worry that it's going to be mid now. I think he's going to probably go back to a wing for a good chunk of this time that Caldwell's out. And because I'd rather him have forward DPP, he'd probably be a near on lock for a top 6.
The only saving grace at the moment, mate, is that Essendon have the bye this week.
Yeah.
And then they've got one more game before DPPs come in.
One week.
If he can just survive that week and play a little bit more forward time or not even a little bit more forward time, as long as the forward time doesn't outmaneuver the midfield time, then we will get him as a forward. And there's roughly 11% difference at the moment. So
he's going to come it close.
It's going to be really close.
Yeah.
But I think it's someone that we've got to factor into our calculations as we move on, because what is he at now? About 520.
Yeah, he's dropping coin pretty swiftly, and
529K with 135 break even after starting the year 74, 91, 88. He did the same last year. He started off really slow and then went bang. So is it someone that if he gets to 500K, we go, this is probably, someone that we need to seriously consider?
I'll keep it simple. If he gets forward DPP, I'm very interested. If he gets mid DPP, I don't care for him at all.
Okay. I like it when you keep it simple. Thanks.
No worries. Moving on,
mate.
Keep it simple again.
Jack Silvagni from the Carlton Footy Club.
No, don't want to
Whisperer. Love him. Josh, I know he's listening to us right now while he's busy working away in inner Sydney. Went back to defence in round 3 to play on Norton from the Western Bulldogs. Yep. And he looks set now to become a defender forward. 66% of the season so far he's played in defence.
Am I wrong to say that Jack Silvagni's been Carlton's best player to start the season?
I don't think he's been the best, but I think he can make a case for top 5.
I think he can make a case for top 3 easy. Anyway, his marketability is fantastic. I think the move to defence is great, and even the shifts back forward when they desperately need a goal has worked out well for him. Mm-hmm. You can lock in that he's going to get defender. He sort of went back there when they decided to move Lewis Young back forward, which was a bit weird. I still think Young's a better defender than what he is a forward, and he's not great at either. And Silvagni probably still better in the forward line, but both work. And he's going to get DPP. He's not really an option, to be honest, anymore. In both roles, he's not going to score well enough to be an option or make enough coin.
No.
But
he's gone 169 and 76. So if you're bringing someone in, you want someone averaging a little more than if you take out. Well, he scored 100 in round 1, and he's still only averaging 81 now.
Yeah. And I need that to drop because I'm worried.
4?
Just the whisper in my DMs. I just don't want to hear
no doubt. Yeah. Let's talk about Sam Walsh. So there's been some chatter with Sam Walsh around him getting forward, DPP.
Yep.
Long story short, it's not going to happen. No. Too much mid-time. He's only at 15% in the forward line. We could have a bit of a chat about it, but we're not going to because he's just not getting it.
I still think if we're going to have a chat about it, I think he should move out to a wing still. I don't think he should be in the CBAs. I feel like he's better suited to a wing, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah. Josh Daicos is someone that will get DPP though, because he's sitting at 95% defence time this year. So he will become a mid-defender. How do you like his role at Collingwood? Or better, should I say, is he going to be that rebounding defender that we thought he might be? Or does Houston and the likes affect him too much?
Yeah, Houston and the likes just affect him too much. It's a good role, fantastic role.
It is.
He's probably the player that should be in that role, but for whatever reason, Dan Houston and Jeremy Howe just the kick-out merchants, and Josh gets maybe one a game, and that's about it. Mm-hmm. And without kick-outs, as we know, there's not many defenders that score fantastically.
No, there's not. 95, 88, and 84. So while he's been consistent this year, he's been consistently mid. And that's not what we want for SuperCoach. You want some spike scores in there. You want someone averaging over 100 if you're paying that sort of price. So, no, that's a no from me, dog. Someone that's going to get forward DPP, though, that was spoken about a lot in the preseason, but probably hasn't popped off like we thought he might early in the season, and that's James Peatling from the Adelaide Crows. Through no fault of his own, though, because Adelaide have been straight fire to start the year, haven't they?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And he's just sort of been forced to be the outsider just because of how well that midfield is going.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really replace any of them. And, the only way that Soligo or the like comes out is when Sid Draper comes on. And even still, Dawson and actually even Crouch, to be honest, have been taking the piss. And look, Peatling's just the loser out of it. He's going to get forward DPP.
Yep.
I don't think he still scores enough to get top 6 in that area. It's cool. Potentially, maybe if, we see a couple moves out the midfield and he's a guy that starts racking up CBAs, we could get him later in the year at hopefully the price he is now. But right this second, he's not going to score well enough.
No. 67 and 47 in his first 2 games. He did score 93 against North last week. But I feel like that's the spike score. He's probably only going to average us a 70. And in that role that he's playing at the moment, not for me.
Yeah, no, not for me either. He just needs some things to fall his way. It's just sort of another thing that we're hoping for, but probably won't happen.
Mm-hmm. The first Ashcroft that we're going to speak about, mate, is Levi Ashcroft, the younger Ashcroft. He's got a good base about him, doesn't he? Just works the wings, works the arcs really, really well. 54.9% forward so far. Now, we did see that he moved back to a half back last week as well, albeit in the wet, and didn't score very well. His DPP likelihood is very likely. So for me, I'm an owner and I'm holding on to him because I believe this week against Richmond at the MCG, nice wide open spaces. Brisbane love to use the ball well. The weather's meant to be pretty good. I think this is the restart in cash gen that we need out of Ashcroft.
Yep, 100%. As long as the weather's good, I can't see many people in Brisbane scoring less than about 60. So if you lock him into a 60 for at least this week, near on restarts his cash gen straight away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's without even the Doggies game next week. Like if he scores 60 for the next 3 weeks, he's making an extra 45k. We'd take that.
I think he's. I like how you're going safe with the 60. I think this week's an 80 to 85 week.
Yeah, and that's
for Levi Ashcroft.
What I mean.
Yeah,
60s, and he scored an 84 and a 72 to start the year. He could easily go over, and I'm not worried about Levi at this moment. He's nowhere near my trade out plans, especially if he's going to get that DPP. I'll happily swing him to F6 for a couple of weeks until he's fattened up a bit more.
Yep. Not Levi Ashcroft. The next one we're going to speak about is Rory Laird, the former Supercoach pig himself. 99.6% of his time this year has been spent in defence. So he is going to get defence DPP. I still don't like it though.
No. I was really interested to start the year. Not anymore. It's sort of, you really go back and think, like if you actually sit down and look at it, how many halfbacks or people in that role actually score well without kick-ins? Rory Laird has taken less than 4 other Adelaide players' kick-ins. He's taken 1. Exactly.
He's taken 1 kick out all year.
Yeah. And, it's just not like you won't. He had a fantastic game on the weekend. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That won't happen many more times without kick-ins. You can't have a consistent base with it.
He's got 124 break even this week. I do want to ask you though, is he a product of how well Adelaide have been going to start the year and that the ball has been spending so much time forward of centre? Or do you think this is part of the natural decline that happens when a player gets older?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean...
Because they've been red hot.
Yeah, Adelaide have been fantastic. It's hard for him to get the ball. North put up a fight for a bit. He got a lot more ball. They had to... North were putting on some good pressure for a bit there, so always retreating to Laird, and he was always doing the dump, kicking it out. Mm-hmm. So he's going to get naturally more touches that way. But at the same time, him getting older, he's not moving as freely. He's not in this midfield group that's absolutely dominating. His running carry isn't the best out of everyone that's even in that Adelaide backline, to be honest. It's probably one of the worst. There is going to be a lot of down scores when it comes to Laird.
Yeah, for sure. Next one is another Adelaide Crow that will get DPP. Zack Merrett.
Yeah.
My God, he's a player. If he can stay out of the tribunal and his hamstrings miraculously don't ping at any given time, he is an absolute lock for top 6 forward.
There's no debate about it. He's easy top 6 as long as he's healthy. He's taken the piss to start this season as well, basically playing as a full-time mid as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just if you haven't got him, whenever you can, get him.
Yeah,
he's going to be a guy you're going to hold for this whole season.
Sound advice.
There's no rush. Like if you don't have a trade to make 1 week, for example, and you can afford to get him up from a guy you don't really want to keep a hold of, do it.
Yeah,
he's not a must-have straight away, but he will be you've got to have him at some point.
Since when did you go along the lines of mature thinking? It just started, didn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, we've just seen the growth of Deadly before our very eyes.
Ben Keys, Evil Chester. All right, we're back.
Zack Ranken, 69.6% forward as well, so not likely to lose that DPP eligibility. Another Adelaide Crow. There's a few that we're throwing around here, mate, but it's the slug, Jake Soligo. He's been popping off this year, but his forward time, only 26.7% forward, which means probably unlikely. But he is averaging north of 105 so far this season.
Yeah, it would be nice if he got DPP, but it's probably not going to happen.
No.
I'll thank Kizza for this. He brought it up that when Draper did come on in the first 2 weeks as the sub, Soligo would always push up, play half forward for the last quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And Draper would, come on through the midfield or on the wing or wherever.
Yeah.
That didn't happen last week, obviously, because the injury to Rochelle, Draper was forced to come on early. Soligo didn't get moved out the midfield. Sort of killed his DPP chances last week. Yeah, he's probably not going to get it. Be nice if he got it. It's probably not going to happen. And the way Adelaide's midfield's going with him in there, I can't see him getting moved out of there to go forward at any time.
Yeah, spot on.
They've got to keep what's working.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100%. Next player, the second Ashcroft, Will Ashcroft. So we know that he spent north of 30% forward of centre in his first couple of games, but 74% time in the midfield against Geelong and absolutely dominated with that score as well. I don't think he's going back forward. I think he's now staying in the midfield. And for those that held on to him through the early rough patch that he had, SuperCoach-wise, congratulations, because I think you're going to see some nice, consistent hundreds and above scoring out of Will Ashcroft.
Yeah, 100%. I would love for him to get DPP. I would love to have him.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that Fagan just called that game that he just had his best game of his career after winning a Norm Smith, he's not moving anywhere out of that midfield now.
Not at all. No.
He's not getting touched.
He is 29.9%, which means he would only need 5% more forward of centre. But it's very unlikely given the comments that Chris Fagan did make.
No, it's not going to happen, I don't think.
Now, there's a few people trading this bloke out, and I just want to check the stats. 4,442 people have traded out Harry Sheezel so far. So 2.6% of the community.
Man.
He's at 59.1% mid and 32.5% forward. So it's likely that he's going to get mid defense eligibility. And we saw the last quarter and a half last week. He was struggling a little bit. And Clarko put him back to half back. And he popped off again.
Yeah.
So
it's
I think it's crazy if you're going to trade him out because I think he's probably going to stay at half back at least this week to get some confidence back. And we saw he started to run and carry and use the ball really well last week. I think you'll see Sheezel down back for a couple of weeks just to get his mojo back, so to speak.
Yep. I think you're 100% right. I can't see. I don't really understand trading him out. Yes, he's going to lose money, but surely you have more pressing issues than Harry Sheezel averaging 92.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's going to drop coin. It sucks. Whatever. He's top 6. Look, if we're honest, he's basically locked into mid DPP, even if he plays a full game in defense, which cool. But at the same time, I just don't understand trading him out, to be honest. In mid or defense, he's still there and abouts for me. And there is a world where James Jordan goes to him this week. Probably not. I could see James Jordan going to LDU. LDU's probably been more destructive.
Mm-hmm. Here's an interesting one, though. But before we do, though, don't trade out Sheezel. That's my advice to you at home.
Yeah.
Christian Petracca. So this is interesting, and I'll get you to bring up the numbers of what he scored so far this year, Deadly, but 36.8% forward so far this year. He's only been at 50% of CBAs in rounds 2 and 3. So if he continues to stay forward, there is a very high likelihood that Christian Petracca could be mid-forward by round 6.
Yeah, I am very interested if that's the case. 98 against GWS, a 78 against North, and an 80 against Gold Coast. He's at a 153 break even.
Okay.
At 423k, so he's going to drop some coin this week.
523 or 423?
523 is.
Okay.
Yep. So he's going to drop some coin this week.
So we could be looking at a Christian Petracca under 500k forward midfielder.
Yes, and just that sentence alone, hot.
Very hot.
Yeah, if he gets it, I'm all on him. I'm all over it. It's just a worry if he stays the exact same role because Melbourne's clearances have been fucking shit ass, to be honest, to start this year, and they probably need him back in the mid a lot more than what he's been in.
Yeah. My fear is they just need some scoring punch up forward. I don't think they've got enough up forward to kick winning scores.
The team's in trouble. But look,
as an Essendon supporter, I like it. We've got their we've got their first rounder this year.
I like it too. For Petracca's DPP stance, I just don't know. It's up in the air. I don't know what good he's going to do, to be honest. It's just it's a complete wait and see. Let's hope that he gets the DPP for SuperCoach.
Yep. Thanks, Paddy, for the nice comment there. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have some more DPPs coming through, but if you'd like to join our Patreon, he's a hot American guy with a really cool accent talking about what we offer in there.
Want to take your SuperCoach game to the next level? Inside Fantasy Sports are bringing you exclusive content all year round, such as weekly expert Q&As, team, trade, and captaincy advice, statistical deep dives, priority podcast questions, and tons more. So what are you waiting for? Get full access to the experts. Go to patreon.com/Insight Fantasy Sports and subscribe to Insight Unlimited today.
Along with all those things, Deadly, you've written up a nice injury report, tagger report, and also a VFL report, which details players to keep an eye out for coming through, especially if you're involved in draft leagues and want to go early on certain players.
100%. Yeah, with a lot of mid-season draft guys that we're going to have a look at get featured in there as well. So when it comes mid-season draft time and there's guys that are 99K coming into SuperCoach and we could jump all over them because we know all about them already just by
100%
finding out how they go in the VFL.
100%, mate. Love it. The next player we're going to talk about is Finn Sullivan from the North Melbourne Footy Club. He is locked in to getting defender mid DPP.
Yep.
But there's just something about his game that doesn't translate to SuperCoach scoring.
I don't know what it is because he's played bloody good to start.
He looks good.
I thought he's been great. He's been better than what his scores have showed anyway.
I agree.
A 51, a 42, and a 44. It sucks because I think he's played a lot better than that. He's on a 37 break even.
So the way he's been scoring, he might even lose cash this week.
Sucks because I think he's been a lot better than that. I think there will be a spike score at some point there, to be honest. Whether it's this week, I don't know, against Sydney. Probably not. It's probably when we've all dropped off of him and he's probably had a big break even and he hits it.
Spoiler alert, I think North beat Sydney this week too.
That's bold. That's really bold. I think they're paying
$250.
They're paying $250.
Yep.
Shit, I thought it was. Yeah, fair enough.
The next player we'll talk about, because we'll talk about our punters club later tonight when we go live, ladies and gentlemen, where we will preview round 4. And that's Jack Macrae. Do we need to talk about him?
No,
he's just getting mid to forward defense. You should have him.
Yep, I think everyone in here has him. He's getting mid forward DPP. Cool. He's staying in the forward line, though. He's not moving.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you desperately need to get a forward and you need to swing someone up, you can swing him up. You can swing any one of them up. Cool. The DPP is just another thing to make him fantastic.
Currently averaging 136 points per game.
Ridiculous.
And still in only 73% of teams.
If you don't have him, get him.
Should
now.
be 100% owned. Don't try and outthink the room, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
From West Coast, and it's not Elliot Yeo. Duggan! 22.9% midfield, so he's unlikely to get mid DPP. Anything you want to discuss there before we move on?
And it probably was likely he was going to get it before last week. I mean, last week he spent all of his time back in defence.
Mm-hmm.
I think
he might even go back with the McGovern injury now.
I think he's probably guaranteed to stay back now. I think the worry actually is that now he goes back, and even though Minnie's only talked about wanting to play Baker at halfback, I think Baker's going to be in the mid more than Duggan now, and
I think he kind of has to.
Yeah, I think that's just the way it's going to be. I can't see Duggan getting DPP at all, and I worry for Baker's stocks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dylan Shields next, 74% defence, and he looks likely to get DPP mid defence. As an Essendon man, I'm not touching him.
No. We did look better with him back in midfield, which surprised me, to be honest. But I guess that's just with him not butchering the ball, going at 60% DE or something on the
Yep.
weekend. That's probably the best of his career, to be honest.
And again, is he likely to come back into the midfield with the injury to Caldwell now and perhaps Nick Martin goes back? Or do they entrust Archie Roberts to be that running defender? Or it's a big watch in round 5 for Essendon, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Jacob Blight is the next one, deadly. Only 12% forward, so we'll put a quick stop to that. Very unlikely.
Yeah, he had a couple seconds forward against Port, and that was it.
Yep.
I think he's injured anyway, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, okay. Rowan Marshall from the St Kilda Footy Club. So he was spoken about for a couple of weeks with his DPP possibilities. But since the omission of Harry Boyd, he has dropped back to 24.3% forward. And it is very unlikely that he will get DPP ruck forward. Sorry. I do want to ask you this, though. Now that he's gone back into the ruck and with the potential inclusion of Shitnet from Carlton, is there a likely sideways trade from TDK to Rowan Marshall coming now that he's dropped a bit of cash?
Oh, I haven't actually looked too deep into rucks as of late. I probably lean more towards Meek as the number one next week. But yeah, Rowan Marshall, if Shitnet is named, I've got no qualms against it. I can't really see Harry Boyd coming back too much. We thought Marshall was pretty well not going to be ready and spend a lot of time forward. But yeah, he proved us wrong against Geelong.
Yeah, didn't he?
He's back and ready and healthy, and yeah, there's no real worry with him.
Nope. Sam Lawler. I got it right. Deadly. Got it right. Yep. It's not Layla. It's Lawler.
You're getting better. You're getting better.
71% Ford, the Richmond rookie, is likely to get Ford mid DPP, but I don't like his role. Like, he did well in round 1 against Carlton when they had the run on and had a few goal assists, kicked a few goals, and still only scored 71. I haven't checked his scoring, mate, but I reckon the last 2 rounds he's been under 50.
Yep. 74 against Carlton, 39 and 45 is the last next 2. And he's got a 47 break even this week, so could easily go under that, to be honest.
Yep. So very likely to lose coin again. I think he's going to be a player of the future, but not right now with how much time Richmond are pumping into their rookies.
100%.
We're getting pretty close to the end, mate. We've got a couple more to go. If you haven't yet, please give us a thumbs up. We're trying something different today. Coming to you live while you're going through your work day to try and help you get through hump day. We're also going live tonight at 8 p.m. where we preview round 4 of the AFL SuperCoach season. So please don't stick around. Go about your day, have dinner with the family, finish your work day, and then join us tonight. The Fridge, Joel Freesia. Started all right first couple of weeks, and then thudded back to earth with a 60-odd last week. So he's likely to get mid-defender, DPP, 48.3% he's standing at the moment. He is a project player, but I fear that Bontempelli's not too far away. I know Treloar's still probably 3 weeks away.
Bont is 3 to 4 weeks, I want to say.
Okay.
And yeah, Treloar's still at least a month.
Yep. So what do you think?
He's going to still keep his time in mid. He's going to get DPP. Don't think he's an option anymore, to be honest. There was a slight chance of, I know some people jumped on for his little minor price rise, to be honest, compared to what he was going to do. 25K went up with a 67 break even. You probably hold for 1 more week, and then he's probably done after that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you're right. The next player I want to talk about, mate, and our last player that we're going to talk about in this DPP episode is Chad Warner from the Sydney Footy Club. Absolute relevance here. So 39% so far he's spent forward of centre. So he may well get forward mid DPP. So we need to see how he goes this week and next week. If he gets it, we have to target him. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you why right now. So the back end of the year, mate, I'm going from round 16 onwards. Here's his draw. Western Bulldogs at the G. Freo at the G. At the SCG, sorry. Good. St Kilda at Marvel. Yep. North at the SCG. GWS in Sydney. Essendon at the SCG. Brisbane at the Gabba. But then Geelong at the SCG to finish off. And West Coast, in the last round.
Yeah,
That's a
so the
very
Brisbane game.
7 to 8 last round blitz that he could absolutely pop off for.
Yeah, the Brisbane game's the only real bad one, to be honest. And he hasn't really scored terribly against Brisbane, to be honest. His lowest score is only 70. So, look, if he's got 7 out of 8 great matchups and has a 70 in there at forward, it's top 6. If he gets it,
he's absolutely top 6, yeah. So that is someone that we need to keep an eye out for, ladies and gentlemen, because he could be the difference between you winning or losing a final with his absolute high ceiling. His floor isn't as bad these days as what it's been previously.
No.
But if his floor's an 80 and his ceiling's 160 odd, then absolutely he could be the difference.
Yeah, 100%. I think if we were to make our own top 6 with the current DPP that it's in, Chad Warner's probably F2 behind Macrae.
I think so.
Yep. And then Ranken's probably 3rd. There you go.
There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. That's all for our DPPs. There's a few questions in the chat, so we'll get to them before we knock off, mate.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
And our man Cheese, who came 3rd in the Skodfather cash comp this week and won himself a little bit of money. Well done, mate. Ooh. He's off sick today. Sorry, boss. Good man.
We love that. I'm
surprised if work productivity went up while we've been live.
I mean, I know I work better when I'm listening to music, so why not listen to a podcast and increase it even more?
100%. Corey, will Humphrey get mid-forward DPP? It is probably 50-50 at the moment.
It's very 50-50. I reckon I'd probably lean that he will. I reckon just the way that they're going to line up probably leans him. Oh, geez, it's so tough to say. He only needs a tiny bit extra than what he's done. And that's 1 extra CBA, and he's probably got it. So, I reckon he probably gets it in personally.
For sure. Cheese again. What is the game mark for a player to be available for DPP?
3 games.
3 games.
3 games.
3 games, 35% time spent in that role. And again, Cheese, Nick Martin looked like he played more wing last week, but hope he's still locked forward. Yeah, so do I, mate.
Yeah. It's a big worry on him. But, as we said before, if he gets forward DPP, get him. If he gets mid DPP, not really interested.
100%. Mate, the noise is getting louder. Is it Archer Day Wick season yet? He's been playing well at VFL level.
He was, I want to say, second best on for Essendon at VFL on the weekend. It's ready and rare, and the boy from Bendigo, he's coming.
100% he is. Is Will Ashcroft getting forward DPP from James? I don't think he will.
Yeah, we think it's unlikely, to be honest.
Yeah. Again, Cheese, Joshy Daicos would have been more interesting if Houston wasn't there and Howes didn't take all the kick-ins. Yep, absolutely, mate. I think it's a pass.
Even if Houston was there, if Howe didn't take a kick in and Daicos took them all, I'd be interested, but not just because he loses out completely.
The man that's sitting 4th overall is putting some pressure on your shoulders. He's looking at ways to get Burgoyne in now.
Jeez, it's an honour.
It's an honour.
Considering I'm sitting at about 32nd thousand, so yeah. Look,
if Davidson would have been younger, would have been a shoe-in for Rising Star. Yeah, he would have been.
Yeah, no doubt. I did find it enjoyable seeing all the people that like, how did Davidson not get it? How did Harvey Langford get it? And you just sit there and laugh knowing that he's too old for it.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Now, you're not going to be around for our live tonight, mate. So where can the people at home find you?
Right there. I'll be on X.
You're getting much better at this.
Yes, it is left hand. I'm aware of it now.
Yeah.
You can come dribble to me in the DMs while I'm at work. I would love to not work and
just talk footy flat out.
Talk footy would be nice. You can see me in the chat tonight while they're live while I'm working once again because once again I don't care. And just in the WhatsApp, come join. Get to hear all my dribble, all Hurls' dribble, Horses' dribble. We got a lot of dribble going on. There's a lot of great blokes in there.
Yeah, but, absolutely.
It's great fun.
Oh, 100% it is, mate. Now, tonight, live from 8 o'clock, we are previewing round 4 of the AFL SuperCoach season. So if you're not doing much, have dinner with the family, shower up, sit yourself on the couch, grab yourself a stubby, and come listen to some banter with myself and Squiddy tonight as we go through everything you need to know for the upcoming week and players to target, trade-ins, trade-outs, captain's choices, and a whole lot more. Until then, it's been a privilege going live during the day, mate, to give the people at home a bit of an insight as to what's going on with DPPs. All the updated analysis will be inside our Patreon and WhatsApp groups in the next week, so be sure to check all of that out. But for now, this is Deadly. I'm the horse. We love chatting footy. And we'll see you tonight. Catch you then.
And I'm going back to bed.
Flag dons.